For what this confirmation battle means for the Senate and what impact a one-week special investigation can have, we have CNN legal analyst Shan Wu joining us live, along with senior political analyst Mark Preston. Thank you to both of you for being here. Mark, let me start with you because we're getting word from our own Phil Mattingly on Capitol Hill that in a closed-door meeting, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is speaking with some undecided senators, saying that 1 week for an investigation is going to make the process very difficult, and it could lead to more unconfirmed allegations. It sounds like he may want to shrink this investigation into a shorter time period. But what do you make of this? Because he doesn't really have any other choice if this is the parameters that the Judiciary Committee has set.
Well, and that's absolutely right. He has no other choice because not only did he have Jeff Flake, who not only put this motion forward when he was on the Senate Judiciary Committee today, but Jeff Flake was going to have the support of Senator Susan Collins and Senator Lisa Murkowski. At that point, the Republicans don't have enough votes to get Judge Kavanaugh confirmed in the United States Senate. So Mitch McConnell's just acknowledging there, certainly acknowledging to those in the room when he was speaking with those that he had to give in on this idea of a one-week investigation. But he's absolutely right, because we will certainly hear a lot more about Judge Kavanaugh and certainly how he grew up, and they will try to dig out every skeleton out of the closet right now. And even if the FBI is certainly not looking into that, these types of allegations are going to be thrown into the court of public opinion here over the next week.
Shan, let's talk about what the FBI would be looking for. What pointed questions would they be asking Brett Kavanaugh and Dr. Blasey Ford, as well as Mark Judge here?
I think what's important for everyone to remember is that there's really no distinction in this situation between a criminal investigation and reopening the background investigation. They're going to be wanting to corroborate the same issues, asking the same questions. They're going to want to do the basic due diligence to see if they can figure out where Dr. Ford was describing. And with regard to the other allegations, they'll also want to back those up. And most importantly, I think they will be talking to Mr. Judge, who is the actual eyewitness who was in the same room. So those sorts of questions asked by professional investigators with enough time to follow up on it should lead to a much better landscape for people to evaluate credibility. And a lot of what we've been hearing about how the FBI doesn't do credibility determinations, they don't judge truth, that's all just spin. They're not the ultimate judges. Usually in a criminal investigation, there's a prosecutor that's going to decide should we bring the charges or not. But this sort of thing they do all the time. And the FBI has agents who only do sexual assault investigations, and they're very familiar with this. There's no reason in the world why they can't look into this.
Shan, I want to talk more about Mark Judge because we haven't heard from him except for his statement that his lawyer put out. And his lawyer did say today that Mark Judge is willing to cooperate and answer any questions. But if you look at his statement, his previous statements, he says, I don't recall the event that was described by Dr. Blasey Ford. That's very different from saying I wasn't there. You know, we do know from Dr. Blasey Ford that he had been drinking. He allegedly had been drinking and was inebriated. But how will the FBI approach this?
Well, they'll want him to answer more specific questions. Mr. Judge has a very good lawyer. I know his lawyer. She's being very protective of him at the moment. He can rely on the don't recall, but I think it's important that the evidence still developed here as is part of a reopened background investigation is going to go to other issues such as the character of his credibility with regard to drinking. And so one obvious explanation for not recollecting particular events, maybe not just this one, but a whole series of them, is that Mr. Judge was drinking to excess at that time. And as we know, Judge Kavanaugh has denied under oath ever drinking to excess. He's been trying to walk that back a bit. But asking questions like that, the kind of drinking they did Judge ever see Kavanaugh drunk in a state like that? Those things will shed a lot of light on whether it's possible that events happened exactly as Dr. Ford described, but maybe the judge and Mr. Judge were too drunk to remember very clearly.
Mark, let me bring you back in from the vote counting aspect of this, because when you look at the Senate, it's 51-49, so there is not much elbow room there. For those senators that are undecided, what would be the deal breaker in this FBI report?
Well, again, I think it goes well beyond the FBI report, even though the FBI is going to be charged for the next 7 days to look into at least one, maybe up to three of these allegations that have been lodged against Judge Kavanaugh. I mean, we're still not clear what ones they're going to look into, beyond Dr. Ford. But again, you're going to hear a lot about Judge Kavanaugh in the court of public opinion. You're going to find that Democratic opposition researchers are going to go out and try to unearth every little bit of dirt they can and throw it out into the public sphere, with the idea of trying to convince the likes of Susan Collins, a Republican woman senator from Maine, or Lisa Murkowski, another woman senator from Alaska, or perhaps the likes of Ben Sasse, or even as we're talking about Jeff Flake, who's put us in the situation right now. So that's what we're going to see happen over the next 7 days. And as I said, I think things are going to get really ugly. Things are going to get really dirty over the next week or so. And if Judge Kavanaugh is able to weather that storm, if the FBI comes back from their limited probe and they say they can't learn anything else, there is still a very good chance Judge Kavanaugh is going to get a seat on the Supreme Court.
All right, we can't count that out. And also, Kavanaugh had said, I may not get the votes, but I won't quit until the end. Mark Preston, Shan Wu, thank you.